Mine is a bit quicker, so we should be fine for our break. Hello, I'm Michela Magas. I would actually argue that our field is very critical, and let's see if we can prove that. I'm from a creative SME called Stromatolite. We're a design and technology innovation lab. It's been around since 2000. We've done futures, product concepts for Apple, Nike, and Nokia. So namely, we've reshuffled all the Nokia design teams in 2005, restructured the whole of that side of the business. We created early prototypes for CoverFlow. My co-founder moved to Apple in January 2006 on the design of the iPhone. He's been there ever since. He's behind all the products that have been out. We created several product futures for Nike, for instance, that came out during the first 10 years of the millennium. So we have been involved with very big companies, and we've also been involved with education and academia and forging new sort of directions of how new types of projects, how students can be inspired in new directions. With the Royal College of Art, University of London, authored the new course of creative computing in 2006, etc. So I could go on if you're interested. Have a look at stromatolite.com, and also I'm available on LinkedIn. But for those of you who were at the NEM summit in Nantes, we organized the Art and Tech Hack. In fact, we have in recent years been very successful at bridging art and science and academia and industry, and at the moment are in the focal point of a very big music technology ecosystem, which we have built as a result of me directing the future of music technology, rather the roadmap for music information research, which was the official title, MIRIS, which was a coordination action, and believe it or not, the coordination action resulted in a spin-off. So as well as having a technology spin-off, which is on the lines of Shazam, except that it finds similar music for productions and for content makers. And we've been working with Peter Gabriel on a new system for licensing music, so we've changed that landscape in the last 3 years. We've also had an event spin-off, and I've just come in from New Zealand and Boston, so our European network that we've created has basically burst out at the seams and is now worldwide, and we are doing Brazil, we're doing Paris, Boston, London, etc. Anyway, there's a lot going on, but what I want to concentrate on today is the importance of the content makers in this field, and I think you'll find that creative SMEs are very much on the rise because of the amount of content creators. So what we're going to be looking at is supporting creative SME content creators. It's not a long one. I think we can zoom through it quite quickly. So we're talking about Generation X and Y. I'm sure you're all familiar. And we used to talk about web access as one of our priorities, how to enable web access, content delivery, information consumption. These were the keywords. This landscape has changed. So we're introducing Generation C, who are about creation, curation, connection, and community. Very, very creative. 90% of Generation C are content creators. Of course, this is a Google report, and it's in Google's interest to have such wonderful figures. And to have Generation C on board. However, it is very true that there is a tremendous movement in this direction. If you actually look at the percentage of Generation C who create content at least once a month, some of the figures are very, very high indeed. And interestingly enough, of course, some of the creative industries who were very reluctant to accept new ways of creating content or new ways of participation or co-creation have suddenly jumped on board. And this is a quote from Universal Music's Global Head of Digital, Francis Keeling, saying it's a massive growth area. And they're very excited about all these contributions because, of course, now there are routes to monetization. 39% of Generation C are aged 35 years or above. And this is very important to state because obviously we want to dispel the myth that we're talking about a bunch of teenagers who are digital natives. And amongst those, of course, are professionals. And there's a tremendous amount of professionals who are content creators and who are actually very much regular content creators. So the Generation C paradigms are very different from ones we had before. Of course, we're talking about web uploads, and you can imagine what that means for infrastructures. Content creation and information curation. A huge percentage curate content. There's about sort of 60 to 70% of those that actually curate content on a regular basis. And Generation C content creators are active contributors to culture. And the reason why this is important, I mean, obviously they're building cultures, they're building movements, they're building all sorts of thought, their influences. So in that sense, it's important because contribution to culture brings opportunities for monetization. Because of course, as soon as you have followers, as soon as you have critical mass, you can monetize on this cultural content. So creating culture is not a trivial matter in terms of business. And monetization of creative content is contributing to the rise of creative SMEs. Because of course, I run 3 at the moment, and this is partly the result of this rise in content creation and the demand. But every single YouTuber who produces content that is now who's able to earn from their content are effectively a micro company. They become a micro company, a creative micro company, and therefore, you know, creative SMEs are hugely on the rise. So this is you know, becoming quite critical. This is what I'm arguing for here. So creative SMEs are becoming leading cultural producers, and they require support frameworks for this. So let's see what those are. Open platforms. Open platforms, of course, we're talking now about technical requirements, and we'll state a few examples, but open platforms could also mean something else that we have developed, which is open product licenses with support from CERN. So this is one of our other projects, which is effectively the equivalent of the Creative Commons for the 3D manufacturing world, which means that one could now create products by attribution. Why? Because products are individually customizable nowadays. They can be created on the fly, they can be modified, they can be upcycled, recycled, and therefore there need to be new licenses, new regulations in this space. And we worked with very well-known lawyers as advisors on this. So not only technical frameworks, but also legal frameworks. Agile environments. Now, of course, what we're talking about here is environments which allow us to create ad hoc and on the fly. We can't be reliant on very fixed frameworks at all times now. Things are moving into the physical space, very much so. And if you actually look at some of our activities with the Music Tech Fest, which is the events framework that we've created, most of the results are coming out, and most of the results that are coming out of the event that we ran at Nantes were in the physical space. And fast upload speeds, of course, because what we're now looking at is not so much how we're going to access content. Of course, that matters, but it's also how we're going to upload what we've created. So open platforms, technical terms, we need to be thinking about reusing, recycling, upcycling, those kinds of models. Agile environments, we're talking about ad hoc mesh networks. Fast upload speeds mean we really should have by now upload speeds that equal download speeds in our networks. So a framework like the App Store, for instance, has generated 11 billion euros for creative developers since its launch in 2008. This is my recalculation from the $15 billion. So it's an approximation. Actually, it probably has by now, because it was just under right at the beginning of January. So it's probably reached that now. And if we create open, agile, fast technology frameworks for content creators, that can contribute, obviously, to a considerable profit for your creative SMEs. So if we create an equivalent of an app store in the 3D space, it will boost manufacturing, it will boost new types of SMEs that we'll use, it will create new business models. You can basically carry on with this idea, you can develop it. We haven't even scratched the surface. So basically, to summarize, that supporting creative SME content creators obviously grows culture, has social impact, creates employment and profit, and creates a very, very rich ecosystem. So that was nice and quick from me.
Thank you very much, Michela.